Hello everyone. CRG wants to make claiming of chips once again much more time consuming. Longer claim timers, more money, and it seems like you only get chips back in default loadout, not in a loadout you change the chip to, unless you're paying extra alpha UEC. It's worth mentioning, many chips, especially older chips, come in very bad default loadout. Here we have a thread on R Star Citizen, the White Knight Star Citizen, not refunds. And they're talking about the same things I talked about when I made my video 2 days ago. Dear CRG, and there's a picture. Yeah, his mold didn't exactly spawn like it should be. I don't even know if he can get in. Looks like elevator is now beneath the ground. No, I don't think he will be able to get inside. He has to store the ship or maybe even claim it. Let's read some of the comments. Potential send 8248. Sometimes I enter my ship and pluff, I fall to the ground because the ship is gone, have to claim it again. Advios 1. Man, 3 nights ago a hangar ate my Hermes that had an MTC, Fury, 2 Geos, and Atlas, and guns, ammo and supplies. Fog. Claimed and picked up my 180 SCU of mined and refined 7 and 800 quality ore. Moving it to Orison to start crafting, as soon as I broke the threshold of the Orison hangar, ship randomly exploded. Was able to save 12 SCU that fell into the hangar. I think I'm done with Star Citizen for a while, until the hangars are fixed and this claim bullshit is better sorted. I really admire the patience of some players. I wouldn't want to do this in this state of the game. Star Citizen is still a buggy, laggy mess. Important cow, 7230. Agreed, I don't think CRG are thinking straight here, increasing the penalty of game instability, while the game has become increasingly unstable over the last 6 months. No, Star Citizen was always unstable with lots of bugs. However, putting engineering into Star Citizen in 4.5, while the servers were already way past capacity, and now with engineering, the servers have to take care, have to distribute, and have to store even more data, wasn't exactly a very bright idea. Cam Solastor, CRG seem to never ever play their own game, at least not like players do, on live servers, not perfect internal ones. Using regular player accounts, not admin accounts that can just spawn in whatever they need. Management and the gameplay decisions makes them utterly disconnected of what we play versus what they expect us to play. Yeah, I said this many times, it's pretty much obvious CRG players are not playing their own game. Well, I know that at least Chris played the game in the past. This is something Sandy posted on Twitter a while ago. On Chris' screen, his daughter was outside his ship. On her screen, she was inside. The typical do things we have to live with every day in Star Citizen. However, I'm not so sure if Chris even understood what happened, because he said, "Now you are glitched," to his daughter. No, Chris, this is not a glitch, this is a typical gameplay experience of everyone who's playing Star Citizen. Star Citizen is desync galore. We even have desyncs of players and NPCs at walking speeds.
Inside.
No, you're not. You're outside. Come into the...
No, I'm inside.
Okay, you glitched.
Dr. Olcam, they increased reclaim timers by a lot a few years ago, and people said exactly the same thing. This is going to be super annoying, having to wait 5 times as long after hangar bugs. We were right, but guess how much effect that had? Yeah, CRG doesn't care about you, CRG only cares about your money. Nico JT, has CRG ever actually directly acknowledged how unreliable hangars are and how easy it is to get your ship eaten? Have they ever actually said, "We know this is a problem"? I don't think I've ever seen them say it. Yes, CRG actually acknowledged this. There were 2 3-hour-long Star Citizen lives in 2025, where Sherrod was talking to Benoit Beausejour. They both made very clear that elevators are in a very sorry state. Benoit said elevator code is old code, not suited for server meshing, and they have to totally rewrite the code for it. However, I find it very strange that Benoit tried to blame this on server meshing because we had issues with elevators, ship elevators, freight elevators long before we got server meshing in January 2025. Comfortable spell 6600. I had a freelancer floating in my hangar last night. I don't own a freelancer. To be fair, I think it was a server issue and I was still loading shaders when it appeared. Doesn't have to do anything with you still loading shaders. Dr. Balls Johnson. I've had a few hangars unintentionally shared due to instancing breakdowns, mostly during free fly in busy ports. Sometimes the other ship goes through, sometimes not. Yes, this is a real answer. CIG cannot even do instancing. Happened to me too. I was in my hangar and suddenly there was a different ship, a Pisces appearing. By the way, this was off hours, there was no free fly. So you have one big cargo elevator. Okay, what happened now? What is this? I didn't spawn a Pisces. Okay, I'm confused. Anyway, you might get some vehicles inside. Okay, are now Pisces left. I guess 2 hangars overlapped. Okay, that's too funny. Let us sink in. A game studio in year 14 with more than $1 billion in funding, and they cannot even do instancing. Infinite Ship 3365 literally called my friend I to hangar today, took the elevator to the hangar. It was upside down and sideways on the wall. Started miraculously without it blowing up, and then it didn't have a location for the retrieve and I had to claim it somewhere else. Thanks CIG, 95% of my claims are not my fault. Remember what Richard Tyra, the second man right behind Chris, said at CitizenCon 2024.
Right now, for example, over 90% of all claims in the verse are for ships that have not been destroyed.
Once again, it's pretty much evident that CIG employees, Richard Tyra, are not playing their own game. Why do we have so many claims of ships that are not destroyed? Let me think. Maybe because this game in alpha still has lots of bugs, lots of very game-breaking bugs. I'm not complaining, it's an alpha, but most of the time when I claim my ships, it's because of bugs. Grand alternative 7454. Did you use the ASOP in your hangar or in the lobby? This has been an issue for well over a year now when calling from the lobby. Yes, calling ships from the ASOPs in the lobby makes it worse, but we have this option. You cannot have an option to call ships from the lobby when it doesn't work, or when it works worse than calling ships from the hangar. In addition, if you made a space station your home, you need to call a ship from the lobby, otherwise you don't get a hangar assigned. Puzzle-headed Maze 911, my ship is exploded before I even get to the hangar. So what? I need 2 ships of a given size at every station, just to have a dummy ship to sacrifice to get assigned a hangar? Yes, exactly. If you're on a space station, you need to spawn a ship from the lobby in order to get a hangar assigned. Dr. Olcam, there's a second ASOP bug where your ship recalls to the wrong sized hangar and gets instantly listed as unknown. Apparently, the workaround is to wait a few minutes and it will return to storage, but I haven't had an opportunity to try that yet. Electronic Kirker, I'm of the field and trust me, it is not how you develop a game. The way to develop is build a roadmap of the features you want, check the feasibility of each one, start development, implement feature 1, check for bugs and issues, fix bugs and issues. Implement feature 2, check for bugs and issues, fix bugs and issues, etc. Every X feature implemented, recheck everything to be sure that there aren't any conflicts between features and no new bugs have emerged. If they have, fix them and then continue the cycle. Rinse and repeat until the game is complete. As of now, CIG is doing implement features, sometime check for bugs and issues, and if they have the will, fix them, implement other features on top of the bugged ones. Doing like they do is bound to accumulate development debt in the quality assurance area, and that's how you get stuff like the hangar bug not fixed for more than a year. Hangar bugs are not fixed for many years by now, it's not just more than 1 year. We have those bugs way before we got server meshing. And yes, what he writes is pretty much correct. CRT is putting new features into the game. CRT is writing new code on top of older, buggy code. CRT has quick and dirty fixes, several layers on top of each other. Here's something a very well-known CRT dev wrote to me a while ago, when he still talked to me. Reparierst du eine Sache, sieht man auf einmal, wo jemand anderes mit Klebeband gearbeitet hat. Haha, aber gut, ist halt so in Game Dev. Translation: if you repair one thing, you suddenly see where someone else was working with duct tape. Haha, well, this is game development. Yeah, quick and dirty fixes, several layers on top of each other. No, it's not. You have to maintain a good code structure, and only then can you put new things onto old code. Yes, I removed the name, but I can tell you, you know him. He is a very well-known CRT dev. Chris is only interested to throw new game mechanics out of the door, so he can brag, look how many mechanics we have. Chris does not care about a good, decent code structure. Miro-eyed drifter. When I was playing yesterday, there was no option to send it back down using ASOP in the lobby. Immediately after clicking retrieve, there was claim. Yeah, happened to me and many others many times. You want to spawn a ship and it immediately goes into claim. 90% of all claims are for ships that are not destroyed. Vice membership 2774. Nobody who makes decisions at CRT plays a game that I'm confident of. Why? Because they implement things that are absolutely useless with all the bugs. Now if they do play, like actually play on public servers, that's a disgusting level of incompetence and disrespect to the community. Well, Chris actually plays Star Citizen at least sometimes with his daughters. Ecstatic import. At this point, I think CRT are actively trying to discourage people from playing the game. Painter78 had a new one yesterday in my home location, landed my ship, went to hangar ASOP and had the unknown state. Although the ship was parked fine in the hangar, it was not recognized by the system. 90% of all, okay, I guess you know it by now. Falling toaster. After reading this, my Perseus fell through my hangar floor. Crimson 136, 100%, and a fully loaded reclaimer with salvage and scavenge parts. Dr. Ship ran in and stored it at the ASOP, went to refine everything, but it wasn't reading it. Went back to ASOP and it said, location unknown. Claim. I had an hour and a half of 3 people running that ship together. It was packed, lost it all. Link to this thread is my first pinned comment below. I don't know what's going on in Chris' brain. Star Citizen in year 14 is still bug galore. Not even elevators, freight elevators, ship elevators work reliably. CRT cannot even do instancing. Quite often we have hangars on top of each other. CRT's solution? Let's make it harder to claim ships. Let's make it more costly to claim ships. Let's make it so that you get your ships only back in default loadout unless you pay extra. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Yeah, I'm saying this a lot in my videos. We have two things of players moving at player speeds. Look at this. Clicker is moving left and right. Almost looks like she fell off the bed, but no, she is still on the bed. Yet she cannot even deal with players moving at player speed. Do you think wise? I would like to point out, from Flicker's point of view, this looks perfectly fine. She is not sliding left, right, forward, reverse on the gurney. Okay, let's try to push Flicker into the ship. Now Flicker is floating besides the medical gurney.
Server meshing has been working pretty much flawlessly at scale for the past 9 months.
Hey, you're still here. You might want to join me on Twitter or on Blue Sky.